So, Hail Caesar comes out on Friday, and I really wanted to do something where I talked about the Coen Brothers because I worship the Coen Brothers movies. So, I'm going to do 5 reasons why the Coen Brothers are geniuses. So if you're not aware, the Coen Brothers are the movie makers behind Fargo, The Big Lebowski, No Country for Old Men, the remake of True Grit, Raising Arizona, Inside Llewyn Davis, and others. They've made a lot of really great movies. And I'm sure that the common consensus is that they are a genius, and a lot of people have a lot of reasons why they're a genius, but I'm going to tell you the 5 reasons why I think they are a genius. A collective genius, the two of them. Okay, my first reason that I'm going to tell you is because they create really cool and authentic worlds. What I mean by that is that the environment and the general feel of their movies toward the world that they live in, like, it's a really interesting and curious thing to see the characters that live in this world and the events that take place in this world and how everyone relates to each other in the world, the environment itself of the world, like the physical things of the world. A good example is Fargo. Fargo, like, really dark shit happens in Fargo, but it's like the most optimistic movie of all time, and it's so authentic in that way because it's like probably maybe one of the first movies like that. There were so many really dark crime movies before that and since that, and those movies are good. I'm sure there's so many good movies like that are super dark. Fargo is dark, but it's treated so lightly. And it's so interesting in that way. That's the best thing about Fargo is that, like, there'll be like a grisly murder on the side of the road, and then like Marge will come out and be like, "Oh well, darn, that sucks." It's so interesting that it's treated in that way, and it's something that not many other filmmakers would do at that time or any other time. My second reason is because the Coen Brothers always have a really firm grip on how the audience is supposed to feel, but without like movie making tricks or movie magic of any kind. What I mean by that is that, say in No Country for Old Men, that movie is filled to the brim with suspense. And of course there's like brooding music and there's slow close-ups and stuff like that, but like, it's not annoying, and it's done mostly through the acting and just the feel of what's going on. Like, it's not even something so literal to talk about. It's hard to explain because it's not really that literal. No Country for Old Men, I was feeling like on the edge of my seat, like suspense the entire time. Another example is Inside Llewyn Davis, which is more towards the kind of comedy, kind of somber drama type thing. A really clever thing that they did in that movie is like the color scheme and the cinematography looked really dull, and it's not something that a lot of audience members would be like, "Ooh, picking up on that. That's how I'm supposed to feel." Okay. Also, the humor in the movie does a lot to really contribute to how you're supposed to feel, because inside Llewyn Davis, you're actually supposed to strongly identify with Llewyn Davis, as opposed to other Coen Brothers movies like No Country for Old Men or Fargo or something like that. You're supposed to really identify with Inside Llewyn Davis. You have to be inside Llewyn Davis. It's in the title. And they did a fantastic job of that because the dialogue really kind of hurt the audience, actually. Like, I watch it and I'm like, "Oh man, that hurts. Like, dang, sorry dude." It's really invested experience for me. I really hope you guys know what I mean, because I think it's a really genius thing that relates all of their films together. The third reason, I know I just talked about how all their films kind of relate together, but my third reason is because the Coen Brothers are truly unpredictable. And I feel like that's a really underrated thing. Like, I think everyone knows that it's this really common thing to be like, "Oh, this is a movie by this director. I know exactly what this movie's gonna be like now, because this director is attached to it." A good example is Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is a good director, but by now we all know that his movies are going to be really dark, and they're going to have some great effects, and they're going to have a great aesthetic to it. They're going to have a bit of like superficial message to it, and it's going to be kind of confusing, and that's how his movies are going to be. That's just how it is. I mean, Memento, Inception, Interstellar, even Dark Knight Rises was kind of that way. Yeah, and that's just how it is with a lot of directors. The Coen Brothers aren't like that, because even though their movies are very similar, and there's this kind of overriding Midwest kind of feel to all of them, like all of them you can seriously imagine like a tumbleweed going through at any time through the movie. That's a very specific example that just came to my head. But their movies are unpredictable. From the little that I've heard of Hail Caesar, it's really strange. Like, it's not what you would expect. You would expect like a really wacky comedy, but it's stranger than that. And The Big Lebowski is like that too. It could very easily just the whole time be Walter yelling at the dude about Vietnam. Even though most of it is, and it's really funny, it does venture into this really strange kind of atmosphere that's really cool and interesting and not like overwhelming. It's just cool. And then they'll make a movie like No Country for Old Men, which is completely dark and completely full of suspense. And then they'll make a movie like True Grit, which is very somber, and it's dark, but it's somber and kind of dull. I hope you know what I mean, because they're movies, you can tell that they're Coen Brothers movies, but they are unpredictable and you don't know what you're going to get. That's part of the reason why I'm so excited to see Hail Caesar so soon. Reason number 4 is because the Coen Brothers are so good at creating characters. The Coen Brothers have nailed the formula of how to create characters. Not only are most of them so compelling and so funny, most of them, Anton Chigurh discluded from that company, it's just, they're so good at it. They're so good at defining when the character reacts happily, when the character is mad about what he reacts, like how the character is going to react to every situation, every other character. They're so good at it, and they get their actors to portray it so well that they've came up with some of the most legendary characters of modern memory. I mean, Anton Chigurh, one of the most iconic characters of the last 10 or 15 years. The dude, of course, Walter from The Big Lebowski, even Donnie from The Big Lebowski is really cool. Marge from Fargo. The list goes on. They're so good at creating characters, and their movies are so character driven, and it's wonderful. I like it a lot. And the biggest reason that I have to talk about why the Coen Brothers are geniuses is because the comedy that they do in their movies is treated so seriously. This one is hard to explain because the actors probably know that this is going to be funny. The Coen Brothers know that this is going to be funny. But it's treated almost in the same way as a person would act a dramatic scene. It's treated so seriously. I mean, I guess a good example of that would be Inside Llewyn Davis, which I watched recently, which if you're not actually really paying attention to the movie, it's not funny, but if you're really paying attention, it's quite hilarious, actually. And I feel like that's something that is in every Coen Brothers movie. If you're not really paying attention, I guess you have a good time. Like, you'll have a good time watching an adventure comedy or like a suspicious, somber movie or something like that. But if you're really paying attention, then you'll see that in The Big Lebowski, Walter never stops talking about Vietnam, and it's hilarious. And he'll stand up for his right because he was in Vietnam. You'll see that in Fargo, Steve Buscemi's character never stops talking, and then in The Big Lebowski, Steve Buscemi's character never talks. You'll understand that. Coen Brothers are really good, and I'm really excited to see Hail Caesar, and I really hope that it doesn't suck. Comment below what you think. I am really excited about doing more videos like this in the future. I think it's a good way to do my 5 Reasons videos, which I really want to continue doing, even though I haven't done one since like November. Yeah, comment below what you think. Let's have a conversation about it, and I'm really excited to see Hail Caesar. That review will be coming up pronto. Bye, guys.